You're breathing,
It's
I like forget to breathe,
it's-
and then I hold my breath, and all of a sudden my body's like, oh.
I did that
And then I'm like, yeah.
I think it's actually, yeah, I was gonna say, I have smoke and fucking kills me. So it scares my mom whenever it happens.
Yeah, we're live, by the way.
We're live, okay, cool.
So
Alright,
whatever you say
New
now.
Jersey, 5051 unplugged or whatever.
Unhinged, sorry, John's here.
Alright. Well, let me know if anybody logs on, because this will be a very different, this will be a very different presentation than
Yeah.
if it's just literally one other person in the room.
Right.
We'll just, we
Conversation.
each have a conversation about it, so.
Yeah, the show at 12:30.
It did, we had,
Good show.
it was, yeah.
You know it.
It was awesome.
I'm in theater, so like everything's a good show to me.
Yeah, it was a good show. No, it was great because we had people really asking really pointed, detailed questions about the, and I was like, that's the greatest thing that can happen. Like, people feel invested. Yeah. What time was it?
2:03.
Okay. I'm gonna wait till like 2:10. I think that's a good buffer for how we know who's to be in, and then I'll go. But,
Video.
oh, I was like, I am overwhelmed. I don't know where that's coming from.
Yeah. Scared.
I'm a small being and I'm overwhelmed.
Is this not on, oh, we need to go back to the new one, right? So this, if you go here, you go into the invite, just take in that number, or, as the new.
Assuming nobody's watching the streaming, but to anybody who is watching, hello, my name is Andre from New Jersey 5051. We're about to start our 2:30 session for
2:00.
our 2 o'clock session. I'm sorry, our 2 o'clock session for the Mass Mutual Aid Teach-In under the No Kings banner. So just hold on just for a little bit. We're just waiting to see if anybody else comes in, and then we'll get started. So thank you for your patience.
We're gonna have to start, so what we start.
Oh, we'd like to thank the Twin Rivers Library, by the way, for giving us the room for the evening, for this afternoon and morning. We had people here on station at 10, so thank you very much for donating this. Yeah, I'm sure. Should have started them out on the last ones.
It probably is automatic.
If it's just one break, we should probably turn on the lights.
Like, then you can't see the slides.
I guess, yeah, but. Thank you, disembodied robot voice.
I did it.
All right. T-minus 4 minutes. Damn, I just got a message. You're looking cute in your class. Thank you.
Who's so funny?
No, this is my, she's from Marseille. She's my friend. I met her last year.
I have one small problem. I cannot start until I find my water bottle. What to do with my water?
You just all over the stage. Your Bible next to the tape thing. Give it to me.
No, that's not
That's
it,
not it?
but I'm sure that is my other water bottle, which I suppose I should not be exclusionary.
Our water bottle, thank you.
Inclusive.
Oh, right there.
Oh my God. Okay, okay, which one of us gets credit for that one? Because it was right in front of your nose. It was, literally. You're not wrong, you're not. That's fair. Like straight line from your nose to the water. Well, I was literally looking at it. Okay. How do you make me a?
Oh, you go to participants on that machine,
On this one?
yeah, and you go to Andre and you like right click or something like that.
Make it focus. Okay, got it, thank you.
So,
Right,
yeah, she's taking the test.
did you do it?
Okay, T minus 2 minutes.
So I didn't go live on the 2 o'clock session.
I think we did, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, but it probably created a new thing again.
That is crazy.
I don't understand.
I don't understand why it's fun. Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, can I just?
Well,
speak
you guys
to somebody?
you got 7 people.
Jesus. Let me touch.
Can you open up that one and press live?
Or, Just navigating this. You good? You good?
Yeah.
I'm fine with it personally.
Can we get blinds for these windows?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, this is the beginning of the. Um. There is no go live button.
Can we at least tell the people in chat to go to the, yeah, to go? So strange.
Andre, you tell me when you're ready to start. I'm gonna pause for this until that.
I mean, in a little bit. It's a D10 red, so. Maybe we'll get started. T10. Okay. You know what? I'm good to be going. I'll just start out. So. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Andre from New Jersey 5051. Thank you for joining us for our second session of Mass Mutual Aid Teach-In here at the Twin Rivers Library in East Windsor. So thank you for joining us. We'll be covering just a bite-sized 101 session on organizing a mutual aid network. Please keep your questions to the end. The people on the live stream, you can submit them in the stream. Our moderators will take them down to be answered later at the end of this presentation. But hold all questions to the end, and we shall get right to it. So, let's start off by saying that mutual aid is a bit deceptive in how it gets defined, because when you say the words mutual aid, I would bet that a good 75% of the people think of some sort of food aid exchange or some sort of means to have. Oh, I can hear myself, by the way.
Okay, we're good.
Are we good? Okay, cool. Sorry about that. But it conjures up certain images and of what mutual aid is. And what I want to say here is that I think at the heart of it all, mutual aid is a solidarity-based system of aid where everyone gives what they can and takes what they need, which is I feel like quite different than what people think of when they think of mass orgs who do this type of work. But I'm here to say that this ethos is central to what makes mutual aid tip. Mutual aid at the heart of it is about relationships. It's about using relationships and the social bonds that are formed when creating community in a certain in whatever space the organizers are working in order to engender a sense of trust, a sense of faith, and a sense of community in order to not just share resources, but to commit investments by everybody in the community in order to meet needs that are created when charity breaks down, when government assistance fails to meet certain needs, when terrible natural disasters happen, or whatever may happen during the course of normal living. The community rising up and meeting that challenge is the central purpose of mutual aid. So I want to pass it over to I want to pass it over to Phoenix in order to start us off here.
One of the things that I want to add to what Andre was saying is that mutual aid differs from like a barter system, in that a barter system relies on the idea of an equivalent exchange of services or goods. It places a value judgment on whatever resources provided and sort of comes with an expectation that that value is matched on both sides. Mutual aid works nothing like that. Mutual aid has to do with an individual providing the resources that they are able to give, and other individuals or that same individual taking what they need and not taking more than they need. One of sort of getting into the philosophy of mutual aid, one of the things that's sort of essential to that is the idea of trust. I'm building a community in which I can trust that others are representing their needs accurately and not greedily. And I am having faith in those individuals, faith being a belief that is not provable. I'm not asking anybody to prove their deservedness, that they do need these resources, or that they deserve these resources. Okay, everybody deserves to have their needs met, right? And all of that goes into sort of building community. You can't have that trust and that faith without knowing your neighbor. You build relationships, like Andre said, investment, in emotional investment, time investment, energy, putting yourself out there socially to get to know your neighbors makes it a lot easier to trust them and have faith in them. This is something that's, I want to acknowledge that it's something that's difficult to do because we live in a society that teaches us that things are meant to be conditional, and that people that it is our right to protect and hoard whatever resources that we have, and that nobody else is deserving of those resources unless they can check certain boxes. And sometimes that we get to determine what those boxes are. And that's it's become a very selfish, frankly, way to live. Part of what we aim to do with mutual aid and what we aim to do with the building of community in the interest of mutual aid is to defeat the isolation that comes with both that selfish sort of egocentric nature the individualistic sort of direction that our society has taken, and also the isolation that is created by the technology that surrounds us, that we in one way connects us to the entire world, right? But in another way isolates us completely from the person living next door. So the philosophy of mutual aid is to hold the broken system responsible for the void that it has created in meeting the needs of the people, and people networking and creating community amongst themselves to share resources collectively, to meet our own needs, to meet each other's needs in a collaborative kind of way. The next topic that we are going to talk about is making mutual aid work through building that community.
So we've broken it down to 3 C's: community, context, and consensus. And the first thing before I want to go forward is defining what community is. So community is so much more than just the people that are being served, because the community that you develop are also key essential parts for its maintenance the maintenance of a mutual aid network, as well as any hope of expanding what it can provide, or increasing in size. All comes from the community. All comes from emotional investment that is spent to create relationship in order to identify needs and to identify what is best for everyone to be at in a given situation. And that gets into context. Context is key, because where is your community located it determines a lot of what you and the rest of the community will be faced and addressed. Are you a tower block? Are you trying to organize a tower block? Are you trying to organize your neighborhood, your suburban neighborhood? Are you trying to organize 2 houses? Are you trying to organize yourself and your roommates? Where you're at, where you will work towards, is determined by context. And what is in I think this will become very clear, because I've seen it myself, that once you identify the context, once you start working in that context, it will become very obvious what is possible and what is impossible. And also becomes clear, what are your solutions for addressing aid issues? So, and again, social bonds are the key to holding it all together, because how you make decisions in a mutual aid network in the community is through consensus. It is the only way to be able to make decisions that are fair, is to be able to get the word, is to discuss with all the different people in your community. You need to be able to create consensus. You need to be able to not just rule through hierarchy, not just make decisions through majority. You need everybody to buy in. Because once everybody buys in and a decision is made, it is certain that will be the best possible solution for that community, because only the community knows the specific challenges they are up against. Only community knows what specific resources needs to be spent and what challenges await them. So again, you're going to hear this a lot. You're going to hear community a lot. So I apologize. You're going to hear context a lot because this context is key, as we've heard so many times over. So once you know your context, once you know how you're operating, that now you can address questions about how it functions. How does the network function? What are the ways you get logistics done? Well, how do you go from point A to point B? How do you go from point A to point C? How do you even get resources? And how do you send them out as needed, as need dictates? that is all that are is at the purview of all of the organizers on the ground. And again, I need to emphasize here, we shouldn't even be strictly thinking about a material aid here, because mutual aid can also manifest as a form of emotional support, or childcare, or legal assistance, or even just support for somebody's legal situation. If somebody needs to go to a court hearing, if somebody needs to go liaise with law enforcement because of something in their past or something that's happening currently in their lives. Being a shoulder of support, being a rock, a pillar for them, for those individuals in your community, is a form of mutual aid. So it can be as simple as complex as the situation calls for. And again, I will keep reiterating this. The people on the ground will know what each of those things will be, because they are best sighted. They see with their own eyes daily challenges. I call it the sea of indignities that we all go through. So every single person in the community needs to be aware that disagreement is normal. It's okay. We're all struggling together. So conflict resolution is key to being able to communicate effectively in order to keep the network moving forward. Conres is hard. I've been in, you can talk to me or any of my fellow co-organizers. Resolving conflicts is very difficult, takes time and requires much tact. And it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay that you all are working through the same struggles. As long as you can constantly communicate with each other, you can solve all of these issues. Just be sure to open clear lines of communication. Again, this is determined by the context, because if you all live together, if your mutual aid network is in the confines of one home, one apartment, it's easy to talk with each other in person. It's easy to ask about issues. But as the network grows larger, you're going to be in situations where you need to think about the logistics of communicating. Do you create a Discord server? Do you call people? Do you drop by? Do you create a meeting room for everybody to meet? How will you address certain disabilities if people are unable to physically make it to certain places? How will you address stress? How will you address anxiety in the community? These are all challenges that the community will rise to meet through constant communication, through conflict resolution. Remember to stay flexible. Agility is incredibly important. Being able to adapt on the fly, being able to listen, being able to adapt to what's going on. So, and this will be a topic for a later curriculum, but it'd be remiss if we didn't mention it here. But also be prepared to meet other mutual aid networks. They all exist. And they are quite common, but most of them aren't advertising themselves because they are so focused on a specific locale. But you will run into them. And it will take, again, more clean lines of communication, more conflict resolution in order to figure out how you will all exist as the community grows, as your lane of relationships grows, as need grows. You will all come to address it. And the best way to do that is through constant communication. I want to bring up some examples of in history of mutual aid organizations. The most obvious is the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party had liberation schools that issued food aid to its students and to its volunteers and to all of its members in order to address need and in order to get people in a space where their needs are met. Not just for their needs are met, where they can all learn together, and for their goal, which was raising class consciousness and pushing towards a revolutionary goal. And of course, they attracted the attention of the federal government. The fact that their efforts were so successful that there were numerous efforts in order to stymie stymie the momentum of the Black Panthers because what they were doing was so effective in the community. It was so, and not just in the Black community, but also rippled out into other communities. I can speak from personal knowledge from about, of course, Chairman Fred Hampton, who was organizing not just Black community in the Black Panther Party, but also organizing fellow Hispanic American groups and also white groups, mutual aid groups. They were all working together. Another example, this is a bit more modern, but the Common Ground Collective after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, they were a very important part of the city's response to the post-Katrina devastation. Whereas, and as we know now, in one of the saddest American stories in recent memory, FEMA failed the city. The government failed the city at every single level. Aid was delayed. Aid was withheld. Searching was disorganized. And law enforcement and National Guard and federal resources were unable to act, paralyzed for days when they should have been on the ground helping. So, in light of this reality on the ground, a former Black Panther, Raheem, which is there's a common thread here around mutual aid and organizing in the United States and the Black Panther Party. He gathered several community figures and volunteers in his backyard in the Lower Ward, and they made the decision to start providing aid, and not only aid, but services, government services, to the people of New Orleans. At the height of its existence, CGC was organizing over 20,000 people on the ground to provide mutual aid across the city. And it left an enduring mark, an enduring legacy in the history of mutual aid in New Orleans. A lot of the existing mutual aid networks all draw a common lineage to the Common Ground Collective. And I guess this is the most recent example that we have, but this is Camp Shameless in Columbus, Ohio. This was a mutual aid effort to address the needs of the unhoused in Columbus, and not just to address their material needs, but to give them stability, give them a place to stay, and give them access to resources in order to better their lives. This was a short-lived project in Columbus. I believe it was broken up in 2022 after a year and a half of existence, and it was actually dispersed by the local city government. But in its short existence, it did much in order to alleviate much of the suffering of the unhoused in the area. And it serves as also another example that mutual aid should not just be thought of as giving as the provision of resources, of materials. It's also the provision of housing. It reaches into so many different aspects of living. And Camp Shameless is a shining example of what can happen when a city comes together in order to take care of its unhoused community. And we'll move to Phoenix to talk about navigating charity and existing government systems.
So there are existing systems that provide aid, right? They come in the form of, there are existing mutual aid systems, but there are also more well-known, broader systems of government assistance, welfare, aid programs. There are charities, NGOs, nonprofits, and they all provide needed resources. They do help. But where they fall short is they are all based on some sort of eligibility requirement to receive the aid. And what that does is that is exclusionary. It creates barriers to providing aid instead of opening up lines of aid. So one of the ways that they do this is through things like income eligibility. But another way that they do this really kind of stigmatizes certain life paths, right? There's a sense of the perfect victim, where perhaps an aid group that is providing housing for victims of domestic violence might include a requirement of both mandatory reporting of anything that law enforcement might want to know, and also not only being a victim of domestic violence, but also having a spotless record with law enforcement, thereby excluding anybody who doesn't have a perfect life path, who otherwise is, who is extremely deserving and doesn't really, shouldn't be excluded from receiving that aid because of past life choices. Mutual aid kind of bucks those ideas in terms of not providing eligibility requirements, not requiring a person to prove how much they deserve their needs to be met, because everybody does deserve their needs to be met. Another aspect of sort of this corner of aid and how it's provided in current systems is that some of these organizations can mobilize benefits and aid on a larger scale, which is extraordinarily helpful at times. However, just like in the example of the Common Ground Collective, where aid was stymied and paralyzed by the inability of the organizers of that aid to figure out how to distribute it and how to decide on people's deservability. That scale kind of crushed the process. They also benefit from being protected by the tools of the system, such as law enforcement. However, they also are subject to those existing structures, which can also be damaging. If a law changes that defines what eligibility can or cannot be, that could help an aid situation, but it could also really hurt an aid situation. And mutual aid is not really subject to those parts of the system. The other thing that those larger scale organizations can do is receive large donations from prominent individuals or other organizations. And mutual aid can't really do that either. But what mutual aid can do is fill the voids and the vacuums created by all those exclusionary methods and all of those, sort of regulatory efforts of those 8 forms of aid distribution.
Okay. So just to sum up here, there is no one size fits all solution when it comes to mutual. It gives a substantial amount of leeway and understanding of the organizers on the ground. That's why mutual aid kind of resists this sort of prospective application. It refuses to put conditions, even theoretical ones, on what a particular network could look like. It wants and demands that the organizers on the ground cultivate community and identify needs. Their contexts determine what challenges they will rise to meet and what solutions they will use in response to those challenges. So it resists hierarchy. It wants investment. It demands investment, and it benefits from investment from members of its own community in order to grow in capability. So it needs to be agile, and it needs to be able to be adaptive. So. Yeah. And this was something that we mentioned that we came to a realization in the Q&A section of our previous session. But proactivity, an ounce of what do they say is like
An ounce of
prevention is worth
Yeah.
10 times the cure, or
Something like that.
it's something like that. But preparing in advance, preparing the community in advance for specific challenges can make addressing them when they come much, I don't want to say easier, but it becomes simpler in response because people are already built up an awareness and a understanding of how they will act when these dangerous times come. And this can, to give a direct example, this can be applied to natural disasters such as Hurricane Sandy here in New Jersey. Can also things like that, and also when it comes to resisting ICE kidnappings, being able to harden your community, being able to provide a process in order for how the community will react when confronted with these dangers, allows you to be agile, be adaptable, be able to meet a growing threat. So again, the glue that keeps us all together is relationship. You can't have mutual aid without social bonds, without emotional investment. So remember, always create community through relationships. Because at the end of the day, that's the only way going forward. We're a collective species. Ever since when we were in caves in the Neolithic era, all the way to the modern era, today, in our modern cities, in our suburban areas, community is still key. Humans looking around and being able to recognize that working in tandem, working together is better than working alone, is what is what makes everything possible. So I just want to end with some examples of mutual aid in New Jersey, such as Princeton Mutual Aid, of which one of our co-organizers is a member of, Easton Service Works Association in Trenton, of which several of us have done work with them, are incredibly. We're very pleased to be able to work with them, help them in their endeavors, because they work with some of the poorest people in Trenton, service workers, some of them who are undocumented, and who are taken advantage of by their employers, who have all of these needs that need to be met. And not only do they allow them to have their needs met through mutual aid, but they give them the resources and the means in order to further organize and to grow the network, in order to create more allies and to create more points of strength, and identifying more and more people who can give back into the mutual aid network. And last, but definitely not least, Resistencia in Action, of which we have several co-organizers who work with them quite closely. This is an important form of mutual aid because it's working in order to protect the community from danger, from kidnapping, but not only just that, but for providing support when people are taken, providing legal support, providing emotional support, providing material aid whenever breadwinners are taken from their families. So again, mutual aid can take so many different forms. And again, it is determined by the context of your community and where they live. So is there anything else for James before we no? Okay. We just want to say that we want to thank everybody for being here today. I want to thank all of the volunteers and co-organizers that made this possible. Without you, we would be able to do this. And again, we thank everybody who's attended. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for taking in our ideas. We have several QR codes as well as literature over there at the table against the far wall. Please look at the resources that we have compiled about mutual aid. A lot of them is about organizing specifically. So those are very important reads. And also there are plenty of mutual aid resources on YouTube. If you look up any sort of anarchist movement YouTube channel, they'll talk about mutual aid. Dean Spade, who's very famous about talking about mutual aid. So there's there's a lot of things to learn about it. There's a lot of experience to draw from it. We're going to need it going forward.
And we have a few of those videos from people that we're recommending, listed on a document in the Google Drive that's at that QR code.
Yes.
Yeah.
We also have a QR code for Rise, which we are collecting through donations for Rise at this event as well. And we will do going forward. So again, thank you very much, everybody, for attending. And also remember that mutual aid is revolutionary because care and compassion is revolutionary when you live in a world that opposes both, which I think that we live in today. So thank you very much. And thank you again.
Amen.
We can get the lights. We can go into a short Q&A session. If there's any
Is
questions.
there any questions from the live stream?
There is a statement from It's Okay Birdie. Wow, this presentation looks awesome.
Yeah.
Great info. Thank you for putting this together.
Thank you. Thank you. Did you have any questions Mary, about anything that came up?
No, it's really interesting and, gives me some hope. Yeah, so-
Well, that's what yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, I am interested in doing some volunteer in one that's already in existence.
Yeah, of course.
So not far from Hightstown, so perhaps.
Yeah. I was about to say your towns, urban centers are the best place to find mutual aid. A lot of people in close proximity. There's bound to be something there. And like I said earlier, a lot of you don't advertise because they're so local. Like ESWA in particular, like they're so local to Trenton. They work in the depths of the city and in like the suburbs, but outside people don't really hear about them unless they meet their representatives on the street or hear about them in Trenton. So like they're out there. They're out
Is
there.
Rise Up part of this mutual,
I'm sorry.
Rise Up in Hightstown?
Oh, right. So they're an ally with us. We help them with donations and such. They're not.
But they're not this.
Yeah, they're this. So if just to clarify, the No Kings Mutual, the Mass Mutual Aid, this is just a huge umbrella movement that came out after in the aftermath of the most recent No Kings to not just educate but to get people thinking about creating their own networks.
Okay,
Especially because we didn't know if the shutdown was going to end, and at the time. So yeah. So, but yeah. Well, thank you. Hey, thank you for coming. We're always appreciated. Yeah. So, and everybody in Hightstown. So, thank you very much. All right. So in that case, we'll close things up.
Thank
So thank you very much.
you.